more on this, let's bring in James Lynch, an investigative reporter for the Daily Caller, was involved in breaking this news today. James, good to have you with us, sir.
Thanks for having me, Vince.
This does feel like a huge piece of a story that has a lot of characters and a lot of complex financial arrangements.
Yeah, it's a significant piece of evidence. For a while, the White House was saying that there's no direct evidence Joe Biden was involved with his son's business dealings. Comer proceeded to release a $200,000 check James Biden wrote to Joe Biden. The same day, AmeriCorps, a distressed healthcare company, loaned $200,000 to James Biden. And we know from bankruptcy court documents that AmeriCorps was promised by James Biden that he would use his political connections to secure an investment from the Middle East. So there's the first piece of direct evidence. And now we have a second piece of direct evidence showing not only Joe Biden receiving money from his family members' business dealings, but money directly sent from China to Hunter Biden and then to James Biden and ultimately to Joe Biden.
This is starting to give us some perspective, James, on why the banks that were involved in all of these transactions were throwing up red flags and sending the United States Treasury Department a very unusual number of suspicious activity reports involving Biden family bank accounts.
Yeah, so the banks sent suspicious activity reports showing the Biden family and its associates brought in more than $24 million from foreign sources. And we know this because James Comer said it at the first impeachment inquiry hearing, that up to that point, all of the bank records from the Biden family business enterprise came from suspicious activity reports filed by banks. And I've spent a lot of time looking through the Hunter Biden email archive. Hunter Biden typically worked with Wells Fargo, and James Biden typically worked with PNC Bank. So these are well-known financial institutions. Looking at these payments from foreign companies and sending them to the Treasury Department simply because there were some shady characters involved, such as Burisma in Ukraine and CEFC in China. And so now the Oversight Committee is looking at Hunter and James Biden's personal and corporate bank records to find even more information on the Biden family enterprise. And that's where you get the $40,000 payment from China to Joe Biden, which was 10% of the money that Hunter Biden secured for himself, as you said.
How important is it that that money didn't flow directly to Joe Biden and instead went through a series of organizations with almost forgettable names? I mean, it wouldn't be, unless it was for the fact that we cover it so frequently, I wouldn't remember any of these. Hudson West 3, Owasco PC, Lion Hall Group, Northern International Capital, all of these names of these companies. What does it tell us that we didn't see a check right from this Chinese energy company to Joe Biden?
Yeah, it's an incredibly significant part of the story because it appears to show that the Biden family knew what was going on and they were using LLCs and business arrangements to try to evade scrutiny on the payments from China to Joe Biden. And it also shows the fact that Hunter Biden and James Biden were very closely involved with Chinese companies to the point where they had multiple business entities.
Yes.
Not only do they have Hudson West III, as James Comer mentioned, and Hunter Biden's Owasco account, but Hunter Biden and CEFC also use an account called State Energy HK to take money from China. And so I think the fact that they had all of these entities kind of shows how expansive the Biden family enterprise was.
James Lynch, I was reading through some of the documents that the Oversight Committee released today, and I was struck by one detail, well, a lot of details, but one detail that really stood out to me is that the bank accounts in question were basically zeroed out before the Chinese money came in. It wasn't like there was a bunch of surplus cash sitting in these accounts and such that the Bidens could say, oh, of course, there was tons of money in that account. We sent Joe $40,000, but it had nothing to do with the Chinese business deal. No, there was no money in these accounts. In fact, the only money that was there was what came ultimately from this Chinese company.
Right. So Sarah Biden and James Biden's personal account, which was where Sarah Biden sent Joe Biden the Chinese money from, had about $40 in it before they deposited the $50,000 from China. And as you were saying, the Lion Hall Group, which is the business account used by Sarah and James Biden, most of the money in that account was also the funds from China. And we know that Hunter Biden, at this point, was relying primarily on the foreign money from Ukraine and China and elsewhere just to stay afloat financially, if you look at his emails and you look at the bank records.
Yes.
So you're correct. As you were saying, the Bidens needed the money to come in from these foreign companies just to pay their bills.
Yeah, they sure did. Another piece that I don't know if I knew it per se, but that came to my attention by way of these documents today, is that the Chinese energy company was not paying Hunter and James Biden until just 6 weeks after Joe Biden left the vice presidency. Although the Bidens were doing all sorts of work for this Chinese company beginning in the summer of 2016. Is that right?
Yeah, you're correct about that. Tony Bobulinski told the FBI in October of 2020, right after the New York Post's reporting, about his role in the Chinese business enterprise with the Bidens. And he explained that the discussions with CEFC began when Joe Biden was vice president. And Hunter and James Biden knew that there could be an appearance of impropriety, so they didn't actually start taking money from CEFC right until Joe Biden left office. We also know about the 10% for the big guy email thread that came out from the New York Post reporting, and that Tony Bobulinski told the FBI was real and legitimate. And that 10% business deal was something that Bobulinski said he discussed with Joe Biden in California after Joe Biden left office. So as you're saying, this began when Joe Biden was vice president, and then it escalated after Joe Biden left office and had meetings with CEFC, according to Rob Walker, who is another Biden business associate.
Yes.
Talked about it with Bobulinski, and then as James Comer said, Hunter Biden threatened his Chinese business associate, and then Hudson West 3 was formed, starting the direction of funds from China.
Boy, we're really starting to color in all the lines now, aren't we, on how all of this works? You've got that March of 2017, so just less than 3 months, within 6 weeks of Biden leaving office, is what they say here. March of 2017, $3 million flows in to the Biden family and their associates. $3 million from this Chinese energy company, CEFC. Rob Walker said it represented a, quote, thank you. It was a thank you gift from CEFC. A thank you is usually something that happens after you deliver the goods that you're supposed to. In other words, the Bidens were getting back pay for all of the work they did while Joe was vice president.
Yeah, and Bobulinski said something similar to the FBI, that the Bidens had been working for CEFC while Joe Biden was in office. And then they started receiving money afterwards when they said to CEFC, look at what we've done for you guys. And now that Joe's out of office, it's time for you guys to pay up. And then obviously, in addition to that, we have Hunter Biden threatening CEFC, saying, look, my father's in the room and you guys better do what we want you to do. And then we have another text message sent shortly thereafter where Hunter Biden bragged to CEFC that the Bidens are the best at doing what CEFC wants. So the pattern of what was going on here is pretty clear. And it appears that the whole thing started with CEFC, the Chinese company, when Joe Biden was still in office.
All right, James Lynch, really just encyclopedic, your knowledge of this saga. We will have you back again soon, sir. Thank you very much. James Lynch, an investigative reporter for the Daily Caller. Thanks, James.